Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to show you some of the plants I have in my collection. Well, actually, hopefully all of the plants I have in my collection. So this video may get really long. But in any case, it's been a really long time since I gave you a plant update. And I've been living in the Northeast near New York City for a while now. And in the spirit of spring, since this is March is the official beginning of meteorological spring. I can show you what I've been growing, and some plants are pushing on new growth, and all the life I feel like is gradually returning back to all of the plants. And of course, right now outside it's raining. It's just a typical rainy spring day in the Northeast. But before that, let me show you my setup. So I moved into this apartment with a lot of vertical space. And that's the main reason why I chose this apartment. And because I love vines, and given vertical space, they have a lot of room to grow. And I have one right here on the left hand side, I have one right there on the right hand side. I'll get to both of them. And the idea is that hopefully they can cover the window, and through the dappled light, I can sort of imagine myself being in the jungle. But as you can see, because of a lack of sun in the winter, some of the leaves have dropped, and the light has become really, well, the canopy, quote unquote, has become really sparse. But in any case, let's just get started. So first of them is this pot of cat's claw creeper and Anredera cordifolia. These two plants have been with me probably the longest. I've had the cat's claw creeper since, I want to say 2018, but I might be wrong. But somewhere around that. It's been several years. And it's a tuberous vine or liana, and it's always been in a smallish pot compared to its potential. So it didn't get super big. It has never flowered for me, but that's okay. I'm not growing for its flowers. I love the foliage and how cute those little cat's claw creepers, the cat's claws are. Let me see if I can find a claw. All right, so that's one right there. So in any case, that's kind of my classical creeper, and similarly Anredera cordifolia, which is a really invasive vine when it's in its preferred habitat. But however, the pot is really root bound, and both of them are tuberous. So they all have those rhizomes / tubers everywhere in the pot, sticking out inside, and you can also sort of see the pot being deformed a little bit, and this side as well, just because the tuber is pushing out. Especially the cat's claw creeper tuber, it's super dense. It's like hail basically. The density, I feel like it's just so hard. Sometimes when I moved, I dig them out and re-put them in, and just so that it's easier to transport. But in any case, these are the pots for, this is the pot for my cat's claw creeper and Anredera cordifolia. And the Anredera cordifolia has flowered every year. And let me see if I can find you any remaining dead flowers. Okay, there they are. At first I was really excited because they have this drooping inflorescence of cute little tiny flowers that are fragrant. But it's kind of becoming a nuisance, because when the flower die, they become those really crispy little dead things that fall off very easily, and it becomes a huge mess. And one thing people don't really show is that sometimes houseplants create a lot of mess. Especially, well, I guess my plants aren't really technically houseplants, like in the sense of aroids or more foliage plants, but they create so much mess on the floor. I constantly have dead leaves on the floor everywhere. You can probably spot more later. But in any case, this one flowers all the time, every year, and cat's claw creeper flowers. Cat's claw creeper has never flowered, but both of them has gone really tall. Sorry for the light there. Yeah, it has both of them. Well, I think the cat's claw creeper has reached the ceiling, and hopefully during the summer times where there's more sun and warmth, they can grow a bit more. Okay, let me move to the other pot of vine I have, and I'll tell you more about the rest of the plants. So this pot really has a lot of species in it relative to its size. I had those species in different pots, but then I moved and then I consolidated them. So starting off from what you can see, this is a Jasminum sambac, the sambac jasmine. Usually this one is a shrub. You see those arching short branches, and each branch is usually terminated with some flowers, like from 1 to quite a few, honestly. And when they bloom, it's amazing. They smell great. And this is a jasmine people use in jasmine tea, and it's native to probably Indochina. And you can see it is pushing out a new growth right there, and that one is probably gonna push out maybe 2 pairs of leaves and flower. So this is a really easy to grow jasmine, contrary to many people's beliefs. And more interestingly, in my experience, when this plant is really happy, or I hope it's because it's really happy, it sends out those really long rambling shoots. Like this one. It's almost like what climbing rose does. This one is not like strongly vining in terms of twining habit, but it's just rambling and it's growing really tall. This has happened to me multiple times. This one I kept just because I wanted to see where it's gonna go. I don't know if I pinch the tip off, if it's gonna induce flowering or not, but so far it's this one in the back. So yeah, we'll see. So far it's just been growing leaves. It's pretty much the 4 or 5 feet long already. So that's quite exciting. So moving on from the Jasminum sambac, I have 2 other jasmines in this same pot. One of them is, well, I guess I'll just show you the leaf. One of them is this one. It's Jasminum grandiflorum. I think it's grandiflorum. And this is also a rambling vine, although it's a bit more twiny, as you can see, than the sambac jasmine. And sometimes these are just when the plants climbed over my trellis setup, and it just kind of arched over. I don't know how much you can see. They kind of just arched over, and I usually just put it back onto the setup, and so it just doesn't get all over the place. But again, I don't like pinching the tip off of my plants. I want to leave the plants do its own things. And this one flowers a lot when it's warm and sunny, like in the summer mostly. And sometimes I'm just sitting there and suddenly I smell a waft of, it almost smells like urine in a way in the beginning. And then I was like, someone's urinating in the hallway. And then I look closer and I notice some of those flowers. It's not overwhelming, it's not covered in flower, but when it is blooming, it's quite strong, and it doesn't always smell like pee. It does smell nice. And people say this is a species people use to grow in the south of France to extract essential oils from jasmines. And this is a close relative to the official jasmine, Jasminum officinale, and that one is more cold hardy, and I think might also require the cold treatment in the winter to trigger blooming in the spring. But this Jasminum grandiflorum does not, and I think the difference between them is, you guessing from the Latin name grandiflorum, I think the structure of this one is just a bit bigger than the officinale, but I could be wrong. I've never grown the officinale before just because I know I cannot provide the winter low temperature to trigger flowering for it. Alright, moving on to another jasmine I have. This one is Jasminum polyanthum. This is also called winter jasmine because, well, I know I just said I can't provide the winter low temperature, but this one is called winter jasmine because it likes sorry, I was just tucking that branch into the trellis thingy. I know this one is also called winter jasmine because it actually needs the cold temperature to trigger flowering. But I was like, let me just try it to see if it will flower without cold temperature. And also this plant is supposed to be an extremely vigorous vine. It's invasive in New Zealand and Australia, and you see it all over Northern California. When I was there, people put on branches, on trellises, fences, and in the springtime it just covered in masses of white flowers. And some parts of the country where I was in Connecticut, I also saw people selling them for really, really affordable prices, like $9.99 a pot in Trader Joe's. So those are really easy to grow, and because they are so easy to trigger blooming, I guess that helps the commercialization of this plant, similar to the case of, those phalaenopsis. In any case, this one has not been doing super well for me. As you can see, this is still quite spindly. I grew it from one cutting, and I've had it for maybe half a year now. It doesn't really have any leaves beneath, and all of them has sort of just dried up and become crispy. And I don't know what's going to happen to it, but people also say that it also sends out runners down ground. I've never seen that in my case, but again, it's growing in a small pot, so I don't know for sure. Okay, so that's all the jasmines, and let me go back to the base and see what I should talk about next. Okay, the big leaf that's catching your eye, this big light green leaf, that's a Hoya australis. This is the first Hoya I've grown because I've always been really impatient. I don't know if I can make my Hoya to make them flower, but this time I really wanted to try it, and from all my research, this is one of the faster growing Hoyas, and it doesn't have those tight packed leaves, and I actually like that because this way it's much easier to see there's no pests hiding in the internode or in the curled up leaves in some like Carnosa cultivars, I think. But it has not flowered for me. I've only had it for less than half a year, but it has grown a lot, especially when it's sunny and warm. It grows pretty fast to, of course, a Hoya standard. You see there is a tip right there. That's the tallest it has gotten, and of course it's taller than me already. And so we'll see when it flowers. And I've also tried to take cuttings of it because when I first bought it, it was really long and wrinkly, but I wanted to put it in the same pot, and so I couldn't fit everything in. I pruned off some of the tips and put them as cuttings in the pot. So this is one cutting, and I think this is another cutting, and there's one back there. And you can also see, because of the spring's arrival, a new shoot has been pushed out. It regrows really well from cuttings. Well, that's also a new shoot. This is also new. In any case, it's really easily grown from stem cuttings, but I've also read that people can grow it from leaf cuttings. I've tried it. That's one leaf, and it has never grown a branch or shoot. And the reason, I suspect, is just because there's no, meristem attached to the leaf, because I just cut it off above the node. Just basically, if you see a leaf like this, just basically took this part of the leaf, part of the petio and the blade. And so it's never pushing out a shoot for me. I don't think it will ever do that. And I actually pulled some out, and I see really good roots on it. And I'm pretty sure this one is just gonna stay like this for a really long time. I'll let you know if it ever grows a shoot. Okay, so passing on from my Hoya to, maybe you see this grayish vine. That's a Telosma cordata. It's again a fragrant night blooming, a blooming night fragrant vine. I think it's from Indochina as well. And this one is also a super vigorous grower, especially when it's warm and sunny. Right now you can't really see much of it, but in the summer it was going crazy. And you see this heart-shaped leaf right here. I'm sorry about the lighting, by the way, because it's against the sun. I figured it's probably the easiest to film when it's cloudy, because when it's sunny you just really can't see anything. But you see this silhouette of this heart-shaped leaf. That's from this cordata, because cordata, heart-shaped leaf. And this one has also gotten really, really tall. all the way to the top. You can't probably make it out of it. You can make out the Jasminum, grandiflorum, and the arrow-shaped Hardenbergia, violacea. I think that's the two biggest thing you can tell. But yeah, this Telosma cordata has never flowered yet, but also I've only had it for, you know, about a year, and I think they bloom in the summer, and they may need to reach a certain size to bloom. That's also why I put it in a bigger pot, so we'll see. And moving on from that, as I was talking about this Hardenbergia, violacea, you see those sort of arrow-shaped leaf all the way up there. That is an Australian native to the mostly the eastern or southeastern part, coastal part of Australia, a little bit going to South Australia as well. And this one have clusters of purple flowers in the springtime. It tried to bloom for me. Like you see a cluster right there that sort of just aborted. I don't know if it's because the lack of sun or because I was traveling, I didn't give enough water, but it looks like there's more starting on the leaf axis. So we'll see if this one flowers for me. But you know, I love Australian plants, and this is just a super vigorous grower, and I love having it in my collection. That's Hardenbergia, violacea. Okay, speaking of vigorous plants, I also have this Thunbergina grandiflora, and you see a lot of plants have grandiflorum or some sort of it in its Latin name. And this is a true thug in the wild. It takes over, it's super invasive, and it's beautiful as well. If you go to South Florida, you see those really gorgeous pergola covered with Thunbergina grandiflora with those purple drooping branches of flowers just in the winter, and especially blooms in the winter. That's also helps because, you know, winters are usually not much happening. So this one also is growing quite a lot, and this one is actually a new shoot that came out of the rhizome. So you see all of those, all three of them are actually Thunbergina grandiflora, and they're all just sprouts from runners or rhizome underground. And one problems I've been having with this plant is I have a lot of spider mites. Sorry, the fan just started. I don't know if you could hear it. I have a lot of spider mites, and because I keep it really warm in the winter, and you know, with all the forced air, it does drop the humidity, and of course it's already lower humidity outside anyway. So it has a lot of spider mites, and also it attracts aphids. Last year I had a tree tomato, if you remember, and I really liked it because, you know, it's grown so much, it grows so quickly, and the flowers are fragrant, and I wanted to eat the tree tomato. So when I moved, I just brought it from outside to my apartment. I stripped all the leaves. I even cut a lot of the branches because I noticed that tree tomato was an aphid magnet. But I also sprayed it multiple times. However, the aphid just somehow escaped all the treatment and came back. I threw away the tree tomato already because I can't take it anymore. It just takes up too much space, and because of aphids, it's just the breeding ground for it. But somehow, sometimes on the new shoots of the Thunbergina grandiflora, it also is a place where the aphids sometimes like to hang out. I think this is a newest shoot. I don't see any right there, so I'm hoping they are not going to show up, but we'll see. And another vine I have in the same pot, you can't really see it, so I just briefly talk over it, is this Pandorea pandorana. And there's no leaves on it, especially on the lower part, and even on the top I don't really see any leaves either. This one is also really easily destroyed by spider mites, and it's from the eastern part and the eastern part of Australia, and some also extends to drier, more arid inland areas, but they have a different morphology. They have smaller leaves, I believe. And Pandorea pandorana is super rigorous. It grows super fast. It's actually it is the first plant that reached the ceiling of this pot. And it doesn't even have the same amount of leaves compared to all the other plants. And what happened was they usually drop the leaves on the lower branches, so even in their native habitats, you really only notice them when there are masses of flowers on top of the trees in the spring. I think it's spring or winter or something around there, because the lower part just becomes just branches, and because of that, people may not have used it so extensively in the horticulture or landscaping, but it is a really good plant, and it grows super vigorously. And I can't believe this one is still pushing out new growth despite all the leaves being destroyed by spider mites. Okay, I think that's most of it in this pot, and this is already 20 minutes. I haven't even gone to my orchids yet. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to publish in 2 parts. I'm going to film a part 1 of non-orchid plants and do a part 2 of orchid plants. Alright, okay, so moving on to the non-vining plants. This is a mint bush. This is a Prostanthera rotundifolia, I believe. And it's grown quite a lot. It's one of the Laminaceae family plants. It's really aromatic. It has purple flowers in the spring, and it grows pretty well. And this is a plant that really tells you when it needs watering, because as soon as the soil is kind of completely dried out, you see it's in a small pot. It's in a small clay pot, nonetheless. So once the soil is approaching dryness, you'll see the leaves drooping. Right now it's fine. It's just droopy like this because there's not enough sun. And the tips will get bendy, and you'll see you have to water it. And this is a really good plant. I cooked something with it yesterday, actually. People say you can cook with it. I didn't really like it in my food, but because I was roasting asparagus, so maybe I should cook it with meat, because it does taste more like it goes better with meat. I don't know, we'll see. But I also don't want to pinch the leaves off. I feel bad. Moving on to this pot, this is a big, comparatively of course, Eucalyptus racemosa, and this is one of the scribbly gums. People always say plants in the Eucalyptus subgenus of Eucalyptus genus don't have the strongest root system, so I really wanted to grow one. And also I appreciate how sparse the vein is. I don't know if you can see it. This is a plant that's right now sort of like a shrub right now. It's growing really well. It's super drought tolerant, and it's in a smallish pot compared to its size, and it's a really thirsty plant. I love it. It will never flower. It will never give me the gorgeous bark because it's in a pot, but I don't mind. I just like the way it looks. It doesn't look great, but I love it. And whenever I feed it some fertilizer, when it's sunny and give it some water, it just pushes out new flushes of growth. It's magnificent. I love this plant. Well, I love all eucalyptus, so that's probably already the default baseline. Okay, so this is Eucalyptus preissiana. That's a Eucalyptus leucoxylon. They're both volunteers. And preissiana, this is the biggest I've grown it. And of course, this is in a pot, but previously, whenever I tried to germinate it, it always just aborts when it has like a couple pairs of leaves. I don't know why, but this one seems to be doing pretty well. I noticed whenever I moved it from outside to inside, it always dies. So this time I moved it inside only when it's big enough. So maybe that's a trick. They want really good air movement when they're young. Who knows? But I'm just glad I could grow it. Again, it's not gonna flower. This one actually has pretty cool lemon-colored flowers appearing mostly in the spring or winter. I don't know, like sporadically throughout the year probably. It has cool fruits. It's a mallee. It doesn't get super tall. If you live in a place where it's cool but not freezing and has plenty of rain, this is a great species for you. You don't need that much rain, like, you know, several hundred millimeters of rain every year is fine. And the leucoxylon is a volunteer, and I haven't pulled it out, just I wanted to have a diversity collection of eucalyptus. I also want to mix up the Eucalyptus subgenus with the Symphomertus subgenus, and that's doing pretty well in the pot. And this barren stick, I don't know if you can see, this barren stick was a Eucalyptus regnans, the tallest eucalyptus in the world, but I stripped up its leaves because of the aphids, the stupid aphids, and I also noticed some plants, some eucalyptus are more prone to aphids than the others. Like this racemosa was totally fine, but that regnans was just, well, it wasn't destroyed, it was just had some aphids on it. So I wanted to strip the leaves. I was like, it's gonna sprout back from the epicormic, but I know it doesn't have a lignotuber to store the nutrients, but it didn't, and it just died. And my theory is also that because it's it's in the green-leafed ash group, as in this blue-leafed ash group. So maybe the leaves on those plants are just a bit more tender for the aphids to chew on or to suck from. So that's probably why. All right, I'm almost done with my non-orchid plants. Just bear with me 1 second. I also need to turn off my oven, so I'll be right back. Okay, now moving down, this is an Acacia, I think denticulosa, common name sandpaper wattle, and because I grew it because of the cool leaf, it's just really sandpapery. This branch was from last year. This is the petio. So this is a modified petio, the phyllodes of the leaf, and it's really dense. Not dense, sorry, I'm losing my mind. This one is really hard and extremely cool plant. And it's endangered its native habitat, so I'm also glad I could grow it. And moving on, this is my partner's finger lime. This one is not doing so hot, also because of spider mites. I see one crawling right there, one right there. And the thing is, for me, it always pushes out new flush of growth in the spring or around this time of the year. But this time of year is when my spider mites infestation is the worst because the humidity is low. So it's just not doing so well, and hopefully I can keep it alive so that one day when I move out of the northeast, I can put it somewhere warm in the ground. Okay, in the same pot, I don't know if you can see, I have some small seedlings of Eucalyptus curtisii. There are 3 of them, and this foil thing is, I'll put it there to deflect more light, so the light can have more lights for the seedlings. And the reason was, the reason why I put those Eucalyptus curtisii there was I initially thought it was a drainage problem. It wasn't doing so well. So I put some plants there, has stronger roots, and hopefully can suck more water out of the media. And this media, in my experience, I'm not the best at growing citrus. The media never fully dries. I don't think they have as strong a root system for some reason. And this one is grafted onto, I think, trifolia, that trifoliate citrus. So it should have pretty good root system. But I don't think they desiccate the soil around the roots like some of my other plants. And because of that, the soil is always a little bit moist. It's never fully dried. I was worried that might be a problem, but I don't think that's a problem. And so it's probably just spider mites. And you can see, like this was a new growth just a couple of days ago. I don't know if you can see. Where did it go? Yeah, it just dried up. It's just really sad. Okay, so moving on, that is a Eucalyptus camaldulensis, river red gum. This one I grew from cuttings because eucalyptus are notoriously hard to root from cuttings, and I just wanted to try it the other day. And I also know that some species are much easier to root than the other species, and so that river red gum just rooted like a champion. I didn't even look at it, and then one day I saw roots, so I potted up. I wanted to see how it's gonna do, just because, you know, sometimes plants root in this water doesn't mean it's gonna do well in the pot, but so far it's been pretty well. Okay, so the last pot I have, those 3 plants are Eugenia. Let me think if I can get this right. Candolleana. It's one of the Eugenia species. It has those fleshy black / purplish black fruits that are super tasty. I grew those from seeds. they are a rainforest species. The seeds cannot be dried out, so you have to basically bury it fresh. Hopefully it will bear some fruit maybe in 3-4 years of time. I know I said I'm not a patient person, but well, I try to be patient. I guess this is my way of training myself. And that one right there is a strawberry guava. I think the scientific name is Psidium callianum, the same as the orchid callia, and then with a num at the end of it. And that one is also a really vigorous grower. It's supposed to have invasive potentials in parts of the world when it's warm, but for, it's not going to be a problem in a pot, and hopefully it can fruit in a few years, who knows. And there are some weeds there that came with one of the orchids I got, but this one is actually a desert pea from Australia. It's not doing so well. The leaves are a bit too light to my liking, but at least it's still alive. I'm just glad it's alive. We'll see. It has those gorgeous red flowers, and the branches kind of creeping along the surface of the soil in its native habitat. And I was thinking I can just let it, I don't know, drape over the edge of the pot or something, if it ever grows that big before it dies. I've grown it multiple years ago, and it just died because of spider mites. So I'm cautiously optimistic that it's still alive, but we'll see. This one is a Eucalyptus regidula. I also have one right there. This is a deader species. It's a cool species. It smells really nice. And inside of it, there are a couple of seedlings. I don't know what you can see. I don't know if you can see all those seedlings. Those seedlings are from Eucalyptus cochii, oil mallee, and other eucalyptus. I think the soil is a bit too sandy for it. That's my speculation. It's not taking off as much as the Eucalyptus regidula. And there's a few more regidula there. And this one is actually a scented stock, I think. It came as one of the bonus packages when I ordered some of the other seeds, and it's only been there for a few months. And I believe because of the lengthening day length, the day is getting longer, it's actually looking like it's gonna bolt and pushing and a flower, because of all the new things are flower buds. And maybe because it's a biennial thing that, some plants start in this fall and overwinter, and when the day gets longer and warmer, they just start to flower. Maybe this is one of them. I know there's a lot of them in that Prostanthera family, so we'll see. And I think that's everything I have that's non-orchid. Great, good job. Okay, I'm gonna take care of the thing in the oven I just turned off and come back to it with the orchid update. Thank you guys for watching.